We've been taught that success comes from working harder, from fighting for control, from never giving up. But what if the real key to success isn't holding on, but letting go? What if the thing you're resisting is actually the doorway to everything you want? Today, I'm going to show you why surrender isn't weakness. It's actually the most powerful thing you can do to transform your life, your relationships, and your mindset. Most of us walk through life believing we can control everything. Our careers, relationships, even how other people see us. We cling tightly to expectations, fearing that if we let go, everything will fall apart. Let me ask you, how much of your stress, anxiety, and frustration comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? Think about the times when things didn't go as planned. Did resisting really make it better or worse? Here's the truth. Control is an illusion. The more we chase it, the more we suffer. The key isn't to force life into submission, it's to move with it, not against it. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean being passive. It means choosing to let go of resistance. It means trusting the flow of life instead of constantly swimming against it. When you stop resisting, you create space for new possibilities. Instead of clinging to a failing business strategy, you pivot. Instead of forcing a relationship that isn't working, you release it and make room for someone aligned with you. Instead of fearing uncertainty, you embrace it and discover opportunities you never saw before. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history, scientific discoveries, artistic masterpieces, even business innovations came when people stopped forcing and started flowing. Isaac Newton wasn't locked in a lab, obsessively forcing an answer when he discovered gravity. He was simply observing, letting his mind be open when inspiration struck. His most profound discovery happened when he stopped trying to control the outcome. Steve Jobs didn't resist when he was fired from Apple. Instead of letting ego or fear drive him, he let go and focused on what was next, leading him to Pixar and eventually back to Apple, where he changed the tech world forever. The Beatles started as a mainstream rock band, but when they surrendered to creativity, letting go of industry expectations, they evolved into legends. Albums like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and Abbey Road were born from exploration, not force. What do all these examples have in common though? None of these breakthroughs happened by sheer force or control. They happened when people stopped pushing against the current and flowed with their inspiration, intuition, and the unexpected turns of life. When you surrender, you don't lose control. You open the door to something greater than you ever imagined. But so many of us cling to what's familiar, even when it's holding us back. Take your career for example. How many people stay in jobs or businesses long past their expiration date simply because they're afraid to let go? They pour more energy into a failing plan, not because it's working, but because their ego won't allow them to pivot. The most successful people understand that surrender isn't defeat, it's wisdom. It's knowing when to walk away from what isn't serving you so you can step into something better. And what about relationships? We chase, we cling, we try to mold people into who we want them to be, when deep down we know love doesn't work like that. Real connection flows naturally. If you have to force it, if you're constantly proving your worth, then maybe it's not meant for you. Letting go of the wrong people isn't a loss. It's making space for the right ones to enter. But perhaps the hardest thing to release is the version of ourselves we once believed we had to be. The titles, the identities, the expectations we've carried for years. Many people live trapped inside a role they outgrew long ago, afraid that if they step outside of it, they'll lose themselves. But the truth is, surrendering who you thought you should be is the only way to become who you truly are. Oprah Winfrey said it best: you can have it all, just not all at once. The moment you let go of the timeline you've imposed on yourself, the moment you surrender to the unfolding of life, that's when things truly start falling into place. So how do we actually let go? Number one, awareness. Recognise what you're clinging to. Ask yourself, is this control or fear? Number 2, reframe. Instead of I'm losing control, shift to I'm gaining freedom. 3, trust. Life has a bigger plan than you can see. The best things often come when we stop forcing them. And 4, take inspired action. Surrender doesn't mean inaction, it means aligned action. Move forward, but detach from rigid outcomes. It's not about doing nothing, it's about doing the right things from a place of trust, not fear. I challenge you, what's one thing in your life you need to let go of? A limiting belief, a toxic relationship, an old version of yourself? Drop it in the comments, I want to hear from you. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it today, because sometimes the best way to move forward is to let go. I'm Dr. Rakesh Rana, the Clear Coach.